Welcome to the Cincy Postcast presented by LASIK.com, where better vision equals better calls. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I get to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery. That's right. If you are looking for a great place to watch an away game, Streetside is your place to be. They've got all of the games there, an FC Cincinnati pub partner, and they've got delicious, delicious beers. They've got food available. It is a fantastic time. Go check them out over in the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood of Cincinnati over there on the east side. It's a great location. It's a great spot. Even if you're not there to watch an FCC game, it's always a good time. I can always catch a Reds game there. It's always a great time to hang out with some really good staff, and again, drink some delicious beers. They've always got a constantly rotating tap list. It's a really, really good setup. Absolutely love them. So whether you're in the mood for something new, you're looking for a place to watch an FC Cincinnati game, or just looking for a good brew, Streetside Brewery has you covered. And on today's episode, oh my God, we recorded this immediately after the game against Atlanta, a 4-2 defeat. And we were joined by a guest in part one. I think you'll enjoy that conversation. It probably blunted some of the hot takes that we had ready to go immediately after the game, but it was good. It led to a more productive, more substantive conversation in part one. In part two, that's where it's going to look a lot more like our normal part one. Okay, we're going to read through the lineup. We'll go through a couple of moments in the game, and then we will absolutely talk about the officiating. Oh boy. Thoughts and prayers for Nick Hagglund for sure. And then in part three, it's a look ahead to Lucho coming back to town. This is a very emotional, but not in a good way, postcast. And joining me to talk about all of that and more, I am joined not by one, not by two, but by three gentlemen who are here to make the case as to why Pat Noonan should not just be fired, but drawn and quartered on Fountain Square, joined by the Chief, joined by Grayson, but also joined by Nate Gilman. Nate, you will have read his material on the preseason streams blog, also a regular contributor to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Nate, welcome to the postcast.
Thanks. I wish I was here under better circumstances. Thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
We've only
it's all your fault, apparently.
Yeah, no, we've only started off the show with a death threat to the coach, so that's probably fine.
Right. You know, the thing is, though, is that drawing and quartering, it's very messy. I think we should just stick with tar and feathering, because that just seems like it's funny. Just a man with feathers running around afterwards.
My understanding is tarring and feathering could be deadly, but was not necessarily a death sentence. So,
right, so we can calm down a little bit. We don't want Pat drawn and quartered. There'd be a lot of cleanup for 3CDC. Let's stick with tarring and feathering if necessary.
We'll just let Chief apprehend him. We'll have a picture where Pat is staring at the camera and Chief is backwards, so you can't see his face, but he's like, "We got him."
Oh no. Disavow.
No, I am so glad we have you on here tonight, Nate. Obviously the result was not great. The end result, I should say, is not great. Dado scored a goal, so as far as I'm concerned, this was an overall victory for the team. But we have seen from this team, and this is like the weirdness of FC Cincinnati in 2025. This team with a win could have taken the number 1 overall spot in the Supporter Shield standings, cleared first place in the East, and would be, as far as the national media is concerned, the number 2 rival to Vancouver for this league through the summer. And yet, the sentiment is very much not that through much of the FC Cincinnati fan base based on how this team has played. So I guess what we have struggled with and what we have bemoaned many times on this podcast is we lack the sort of tactical acumen to assess what is going on or not going on offense. And I think a lot of the problems that we have seen sort of under the surface being, dare I say, disguised by the results really came out tonight against Atlanta. I'm curious, like top line, like how do you view this team? And the way I described it, is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. I think this team, kind of the results are covering up a lot of holes. They're like, if you look at the season, kind of the season as a whole, there really aren't a ton of games where FC Cincinnati has really dominated or really played that well.
Right.
And tonight you ran into a team like Atlanta has been bad, but you can't deny that they have talent, especially attacking talent. And I'm sure we'll get into Latte Lath and what happened on the field. But I mean, there's a reason that he's one of the most, he is the most expensive transfer into this league. And Moranchuk, who has not been very good, but talent is there and pedigree. They are a team that certainly has not played up to their talent level. And I think FC Cincinnati kind of enabled them too, with some of the issues that we've seen all year, unfortunately. I'm actually more concerned about the goals that Atlanta didn't score in some ways than just like 2 kind of fluky set piece goals. And then another one like right after the Hagglund injury. But they're just like, if you look at the shot charts, there's just a number of chances that Atlanta has right in the middle of the 6. And we've seen too much of that this year. So coupled with kind of an offense that is still, I think Taylor Twellman said stuck in third. I think that's generous. They are just like really not playing up to the level. So like certainly a number of shots today, but again, look at the shot chart. I think almost half of them are outside the box. And that's not a way to create scoring opportunities anyway.
Yeah, to what Nate said, some of the stats are gonna, man, they're gonna give like kind of a misleading picture of this of what happened tonight, because 30 shots for the FC to 12 for Atlanta, 63% possession to 37% to Atlanta. 528 accurate passes for the FC, 90% to 292 for Atlanta. However, Atlanta had 9 big chances and we had 3. So Atlanta had 5 big chances missed. And it does kind of, I guess, show. And like the shot chart, like Atlanta has 2 shots outside the 18. We have, I'm not going to count them, but I'm not going to disagree with Nate. It looks like about half of our shots outside the 18. So we had like 20 more shots, but like 5 more within the 18. And we had, looks like 1 within the 6. And they had 6 within the 6-yard box.
By my count, 14 of those shots are outside the box.
So my big question is, and you watch this offense tonight, and I agree, it's been my thing for a while now that this team does not create easy chances. And what is FC Cincinnati not doing to where, like, you see multiple times in games that we play that the opponent puts a ball straight through into the 6-yard box. It's crosses that get through. I can't remember the last time a cross got through clean to someone from FC Cincinnati. What are we not doing to generate those easy chances? Like, what's missing from this offense? Because it just seems like we're playing on hard mode. You know, you even see tonight where Dado Valenzuela creates the first chance of the game from a wide angle. It's not a great chance. It's a chance you're expecting a keeper to save, but no one's making a run to make themselves available to where Dado might have another opportunity besides taking a low percentage shot, or to even give Guzan something else to think about with another player crashing down. Multiple times where Luca Orishano is left with no option but to either beat his man 1v1 or recycle a ball backwards. What is this team from a tactical perspective not doing that is making all these chances so hard that we take?
Yeah, I think it's complicated and varies game to game. I think a big part of it is a personnel issue in some ways. Like if you're gonna require, and I've banged on about this, and I think you all have too. If you're gonna play with 3 center backs and one of your midfielders is either Brian Anunga or Obi Wobodo, you really need your wingbacks to be elite offensive creators. And Lucas Engel does a lot of good things well, but he's not great in the final third. And I think things have improved when Orejano has shifted back to right wing back. But he's still also not going to give you any width because he is so left footed and he's always coming inside. So you're not getting any width for cutbacks there either. I think there have been opportunities. I thought Dado was, talking about positives from tonight. I think the Dado breakout continues, and I'm excited in like a real sicko way to go back and watch this game, as painful as it is, just to see how effective Dado was. I think it probably was his best MLS game. But I think there are opportunities for Dado or Pavel Buka to kind of overlap when Yedlin cuts in to get into those cutback spaces, because those are the chances you're really trying to create. You're not looking for just kind of like in the like wide of the 18 just to whip crosses in with how much attention Kevin Denke is going to draw. And if you have Dado, you like really only have one aerial option, and crosses aren't generally good shots anyways. So trying to figure out how to get into that cutback space is probably the most important thing. But you need players who can actually hit good passes from there. And so far, like DeAndre Yedlin certainly hasn't. And then Lucas Engel has, I think, earlier in the season he did. Yeah. But unfortunately, the first look we got of Lucas Engel was against Motagua, who was almost certainly the worst team we're going to play in the schedule. So I think that kind of inflated expectations for him. But like I said, I think on a rewatch, this might be the best offensive performance, which is not great, but right. I think progress might be being made.
How much of that do you think is like game state?
Yeah,
where it's like they give up 2 goals. They give up a goal like pretty early and 2 in the first half. And like, once they give up a goal, the team goes into just kind of, especially after 2, they go into like kind of force it. Like, let's just push it. I don't want to say no tactics mode, but that does seem to be the best the team looks is like when they're chasing.
Look, Sergio Santos building up. Finished this game at left back. Okay, we can say they entered a no tactics zone.
Yeah. But I think like before Hagglund got hurt, Cincinnati was very much in control of that game and was creating the better opportunities. Them being just like wide open in transition on the counter is another issue with this team, and it came back and bit them a number of times. But I think like until the Hagglund injury and that crazy 5 minutes or whatever it was, I think there were some signs of life on offense at least.
Yeah. And we should definitely talk about that Hagglund injury.
I want to get through the tactics stuff
Do you?
and like the quality and everything. Just like get it out of our system first.
Okay, fair
because
enough.
there's a lot to just complain about, I think, and stuff that happened. So like we can get past the part where we're like, you know, everything that we've always said about this team is 100% right. We'll just get that. We'll just get that out of our system. We'll just get that out of our system, and then move on to the stuff that I think, frankly, is in some ways more important.
Yeah. All right. Well, then, Nate, let me ask you this. So this team puts up 30 shots tonight, which, again, as Grayson said, on paper looks great, sounds great. 2 of those were Kevin Denke. Is it a scheme issue that they are not getting him the ball in these dangerous chances? Or is it that defenses are necessarily marking him out of the game and therefore everybody else, i.e. Dotto, is going to have to step up and perform?
I think tonight with Atlanta playing 3 center backs, it really limits what Denke can do. And I'm, again, interested to go back and rewatch, but
I should say we are recording this moments after the game ended. So like nobody's had a chance to even watch the highlight reel back.
Yeah. Very much out of my element here when I have like some amount of time to pour over and collect my thoughts.
And some of us watched it on our phone at a dinner party. So.
Well, I hope that company and food was worth going to and subjecting yourself to watching this game on that screen. I think so. Tonight, I think Denke did a really nice job holding the ball up in some situations. I think he flashed a shot wide, maybe in the first half. And it's just like, oh, this maybe, just might not be his night. But I think pushing him up higher and drawing the attention of 3 center backs is going to make him less effective in some ways. But at the same time, that opens up space for Dotto and Evander, who might not have been as good, but Dotto certainly thrived tonight, I thought. Just being able to drop deeper into that pocket of space between the center backs and Atlanta's 2 central midfielders. So I think there's a give and take. Trying to figure out exactly what Denke is good at.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's a really good striker. But like figuring out exactly where he thrives is kind of hard for us to do because like we can't go back and we don't have access to like all of his shots and goals in Belgium and seeing like, oh, he's like really good finishing cutbacks or he's really good in this situation. So I would assume the coaching staff knows what that is. I hope. But like anything you can do to make chances easier for him would be ideal. But I think he and Evander have kind of seemingly struck a pretty good relationship in the last couple of games, especially with Orejano dropping deeper. And even Orejano is still really pushing for a goal, not to try to get too far into the mind of a player. He is absolutely just gunning out there. And I think he saw one almost go in and almost immediately followed it up with just like another, oh no, Luca Orejano shot, which we've seen too much this year.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that a little bit with Luca. So watching this game, one of the thoughts that I had was that Luca is pressing so hard for a goal that he has tipped the balance in from being useful to being a hindrance at this point because of his sheer unwillingness to pass. Like he was going to take every shot that he had an opportunity to take. Because I think he wants to see one go in. But at some point, I have to think that he's hurting the team out there more than he's helping it if he's conceding offensive possessions on low percentage shots when there is the opportunity to pass and find a teammate. Am I wrong in thinking that maybe he needs a game off where they just tell him, look, you need to get your head right because what you're doing out there is, long dribbling sequences that, he ends up getting dispossessed because he doesn't find someone. Cut-ins where he's going to try and curl in a perfect shot versus maybe making the next pass and giving someone else a better opportunity. Am I overreacting to say that he might be a net negative right now on the field at this point?
I definitely see where you're coming from. I still think like the positives of him picking the ball up deep and pushing it forward on the dribble, and like some of the passes he can hit, especially like diagonal balls from those deeper positions, are a positive. But there are still too many times definitely where he's in the final third and cutting inside, and Evander's already there, and Denke's already there, and either Santos or Valenzuela or whoever is also playing in that kind of attacking band is already there. So I think figuring out ways to get him options to like play the ball back out wide to the right. So if that's somebody filling that space, whether that's Buka or Valenzuela, like we've talked about, just making it easier for him to hit a pass that makes it easier to create a shot. So like going back to the right and then finding a cutback. But yeah, I think a lot of it is that he needs to see the ball go in. And like, if there's one thing we learned about Luka last year, it's that shoot or shoot, and he is absolutely a shooter.
I think it's hard to call him a net negative without taking into account like what else is available at that spot.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, like sometimes like at the when you get closer to the end line in the bottom third, you end up with like a shot to nobody or losing the ball because he holds it too long. But his ability to advance the ball on the dribble is like
unmatched.
It's elite. It's some of the best in the league.
It's like one of the best things this offense has going for it right now. It's what created our goal against Columbus. It was the only intentional thing that happened until Denke finished the playoff.
Yeah, squaring just a couple of things here. The way Orishano has been playing, and then the news that Laurel broke that he has essentially a release clause per the understanding of a couple of league sources.
Essentially,
I think
means not.
No, I think his release clause is he needs to score a goal, and then he gets to go to Cruz Azul.
That makes a lot of sense right there.
And now he is desperate to score this goal so he can get out of here.
Other question for you, Nate, since we got you on here and you're smarter about this than we are. Is this FC Cincinnati team too slow? Because what I've seen a lot of this year is other teams getting over the top on this team, and a sheer inability of FC Cincinnati to ever get over the top on anyone. And to me, you look around the field and there's good speed at a lot of positions, but there isn't a single player on this team that has elite top end speed to where a defense fears anything about that player going forward. Am I wrong in thinking that speed needs to be a priority addition in the summer window for this team, just to give them like a second club in the bag for how to play?
Chief, when you said good speed, I thought you were making a The Rock reference.
Joke. Yeah.
Stanley Goodspeed.
Yes.
I think. I mean, I would like to see an attacking option added regardless, and. I think I've written about and certainly been in the post Discord talking about how I'd like to see 4-2-3-1 more than the three center backs, just because like this team needs another attacking option in the final third. But I think like Luka has pretty good speed. And tonight, like this is a good night for this to come up, because you're not going to find like a worse matchup than Latte Laf, who is probably one of the fastest players in the league, and Matt Miazga. And that was just like almost an absolute disaster. Yeah. But yeah, just like probably the worst matchup you could have. I think like figuring out a way to, I mean, anything you can do to create better chances. And like over the top is a low percentage game. I mean, I think Denke has shown that he can beat some center backs with pace over the top, but that's just clearly not how they're playing right now. They're looking to play to his chest with his back to goal and knock it down and lay it off to Evander or somebody else. So, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to add a pacey winger or option to supplement this attack rather than as much as I think Kai Kamara is a solid addition, and Sergio Santos is still pretty dangerous actually, and against most center backs in this league. And like an elite pacey attacking threat would certainly be useful.
Yeah,
I think over the top is underrated.
Well, I mean, it certainly beats the hell out of us every time somebody tries it.
I think so. I think that there's a way to play that gets a lot of like credit and makes you feel smart, and sometimes though, just like playing over the top, like at least when you're losing the ball, the other team is not getting it clean, and you can press and win it back, and you're not.
But you just don't feel smart as a coach saying boot it and run.
Yes.
But that's like how Liverpool was good, like how Jurgen Klopp came to the Premier League and was like, I'm going to dominate this league. It's just like, I'm going to have better. Well, it helped that he had better players than almost everybody else, but he was just like, we are going to kick the ball far and go press you really high up the field and win it back, because winning it back there is better than playing good defense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Catching teams in that little brief moment of transition is where you could win a couple of league titles, it turns out. So I mean, we've talked about it a little bit here, but I don't think it's controversial to say Dotto is a nailed on starter on this team alongside Denke, right? Like there is not a world where Santos or Baird or Kubo or whomever is starting there. I think
Dotto had one play. I mean, obviously he had a lot of plays, but the one play that I want to call out is the one where he was in that spot again with that like kind of longer diagonal, and it caught him like kind of like the ball caught him like kind of high, so it wasn't like as clean of a finish as he had a couple of games ago. But there he was again, right in that spot making that run.
Yeah, he has to be, for me, the locked on at this point, just because the upside. He's already, in terms of performance ability right now, I think he's on par with any of the other options that you've mentioned. But unlike a lot of the other options there, I think the upside is way higher with Valenzuela. And, the improvement from year over year is stunning in terms of his growth. And, there's a lot of Evander, there's a lot of very good people that are vouching for the skill level and the things that he's showing. And he is one of the only people on this team that is direct to goal. There is not a lot of wasted motion going route one with Dotto. And I think that that's a skill set that, other than Denke, just isn't on this team right now. I think that he not only is the best option, I think taking him off the field makes the team less dynamic at this point.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too. As all of the various subs were going on, he was not pulled off. It was all in compliment to him, and he ended up being, as we found out later, that Kubo apparently picked up a knock, was not going to be able to fill in that midfield role where Obi, when Obi was subbed out, would have made sense. Dotto fills that niche, and all of a sudden you kind of start to see a couple of different places where he may be valuable on this team. Nate, again, though, going big picture, like, is this a team that over the course of a long season, like, regardless of where you value Supporters Shield or Leagues Cup, as we are a bona fide, tried and true Leagues Cup podcast, you look to MLS Cup. That is the ultimate goal here. Is this a team that you think will, quote unquote, figure it out come playoffs, or does something either personnel or shape wise need to change to feel, say, more confident in October?
Yeah, I, even coming into the game tonight, have been, I think, firmly on the more pessimistic side of FC Cincinnati fandom and people who publish opinions about the team. I think we're just like so far into the season, and like I said, this team really hasn't played very well. And that, like, they're winning, which is great.
Right.
So I think the positive way to put it is like there's a lot of room to improve, and like you can get a lot better.
Yeah.
But like, unfortunately, scraping out wins where the other team is creating better chances than you is not a sustainable way to win. But like, at the same time, we've seen Pat Noonan make adjustments that have made the team better. Like, and I think with the fact that he actually benched DeAndre Yedlin in favor of Orjano and shifting him back is a sign that he is going to make changes. I would like to see more of Dotto going forward. I think they're probably, like, if there's a space against a team that is not as attacking to play Dotto next to Buka, I would be interested in that. Just because, like I said, it's hard to survive with three center backs and a midfielder who does very little offensively. Although, shout out to Obi Wobodo, who actually, to my eye, looked a little bit better on the ball tonight and a little more aggressive. That's just, I guess, how I watch games now. I'm just like saying to myself out loud, I'm like, oh, good turn, Obi, nice job. But yeah, I think they need to get better. But luckily, if you want to be optimistic, there is a lot of time, and we still have a summer window. And anybody who's watched MLS for multiple seasons knows that the most important thing is to peak at the end. And frankly, the fact that they're even in the Supporter Shield race at this point with how they've played, if they do get better, then they should be in that race until the end of the season as well.
So one of the questions that's been dominating the fan base online, Discord, wherever, is Noonan and his offensive tactics. We've had 2-3 years now of footage and watching Pat Noonan coach and watching the offensive system. But this is really the first look we've had extended of without the get the ball to Luciano Acosta and let him design. Where is the rational place to be with Pat Noonan and Pat Noonan's offensive system for this team?
I think, and like, I should probably at some point go back and watch some games from last year just to see exactly what it looks like in possession. But like, the structure is there. It's like they're building out in like a 3-2-5, like so many teams in world soccer do. I think that my biggest issue, I'm not sure this is a Pat Noonan question. I think this is more of a Chris Albright question. I'm not sure that there's enough attacking talent on this roster to be like where you want to be in terms of like scoring goals, especially with how many center backs there are and how many defensive midfielders who really don't contribute all that much going forward. And then not bringing in, like, I think it worked great when you had a series of converted Argentine wingers who just played wingback in a very interesting, unique way. And like, that became your second creation option. And like, that was a really good problem solving, a piece of problem solving from Noonan. But like, coming into the season and you're like, we are going to get by with Lucas Engel and DeAndre Yedlin and really just like 3.5 full-time attackers in Denke, Evander, Orjano, and Buka. Like, that's a tough way for anybody to live.
That's a really good point. You know, when you like, at the beginning of the year, I was thinking, you know, there were rumors that FC Cincinnati was looking at another striker or U22 striker. And I'm sitting there going, okay, well, you've got Santos and Baird and Kubo and Denke, and now we've got Kai Kamara. And you start to go like, well, there's too many of them. But at the end of the day, a whole lot of them just aren't that good, or have gotten a lot older than they were when they were good. And it becomes difficult to see, if you did not have Denke and the striker room, is that a striker room that's going to win trophies? probably not. And so, yeah, I see that argument, and honestly, it's the first time that I've really felt like directing some blame to Albright because of how good and consistent this team has been since he's come in. Yeah, you'd think he gets a clean pass, but I actually think that's a very good call, and especially when you look at the, say, salary spend on Baird and Santos in particular, and their relative contributions. Apparently, the best guys in the locker room, and I will say nothing about them personally, but when it comes to the G+A stat from the two of them, it doesn't quite add up to the dollars that are being outlaid there.
So Nate, you said you would like to see a 4-2-3-1. Do you have an 11?
Ooh, give us the 11.
4-2-3-1, not to put you on the spot.
No, put him on the spot.
I think so. So I think it's Engel from left to right, Engel, and then the center backs, Miazga, Robinson, Yedlin at right back, Buka and Obi at the base of midfield. I don't really have an option at left wing. Maybe it's at this point, maybe it's Dado, Evander at the 10, and then Orjano on the right wing, and then Denke up top.
Yeah, I mean it's like Dado or Kubo, right?
Yeah, so Dado, bet on the upside.
I think Dado as well. Yeah,
yeah.
I'd like to see that rolled out.
Yeah, and then like the way that not to. Well, I will, because it's what I'm interested in. And if you've ever read anything I've written, that's all it is. But then when you get into like this 3-2-5 that they build up in, instead of Yedlin or the right wing back pushing up to be part of that band of five, it's Orjano. Then you still push Engel up high on the left. And then Yedlin just kind of becomes that third center back.
Yeah.
Which I think would have been helpful tonight when Matt Miazga almost just got absolutely roasted on the counter.
Yeah, and I would say having Yedlin and Robinson there to assist Miazga on the speedier parts of playing defense would be incredibly helpful. Yeah,
and if they're not going to go to that system, Lucas Engel, keep, or do they need to find something else besides that? Assuming that Pat Noonan is locked on to three center backs, we have invested too heavily in the position. He's not going to change the system right now. Lucas Engel is only on a loan. As far as I know, there is no commitment to buy. They have an option to buy. Are you looking in the summer window to move on from Lucas Engel?
Or are you just playing Sergio Santos there right now?
That's right.
Dear God.
I don't think it's like the highest priority, but maybe. Like if you can get out of it.
Because if like the idea is that we don't have, that the team has looked the best when you have had wing backs that are attacking pieces, and you're probably, just based on the way Pat Noonan approaches things, Obi is not going anywhere as a starter. Really, the only position on the field that you can make more offensive minded is that wing back position with Engel. Like there's not a lot of other options to increase the attacking options on the field that don't involve Lucas Engel if you are going to continue to play this three at the back formation.
Yeah, I think just having an extra attacker on the field helps a lot. So having Engel just being like more of a tertiary piece in the final third rather than somebody that you actually need to be a creator like they do now. And I think taking a center back off the field gets you part of the way there. But I would certainly be open to it.
What about the chaotic energy of Alvis Powell? Can I
I love Alvis. I like with absolutely no data, whatever. Alvis Powell is like one of my favorite players to watch.
Hell yeah. And that is the correct take. Nate, I'll give you the final word here. Anything that you didn't get to say tonight that you had locked and loaded in the chamber, you're ready to get off your chest?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I think we got through, it was a good amount and less painful than I expected.
Well, I'll rewatch it before CST and then have entirely different takes.
Burn it all down.
But, after watching the game one time, I thought this, but after watching it again, like I really realized The opposite is true.
Boy, honestly, that's the content creators 1-2 right there. Is you give your first take, then you watch the game again, and then you say, well, now I have a new take, and you can keep having takes into the ether all the way to the Wednesday game. Then at that point,
that sounds like way too much work, to be honest.
And
too many takes.
What,
so I'll
CSC doesn't pay you well. Like,
that's why Stephen A. Smith
demand more of that money, man.
Makes all his millions. No, Nate, thank you so much, man. We needed somebody who, like I said, had the tactical acumen to break this down. Something that is certainly our weak spot on this podcast. So you're the best one doing it in the FCC world that I've seen, and so happy to have you on to talk us through it. If people want to read more of your stuff, where would they go?
You can subscribe to my Substack, which is Preseason Streams, created in I think 1 February when we weren't getting any preseason streams, and it lives on.
I love it. I love the name. This is a hill I am more than happy to die on. Well, Dave, we'll certainly have a link to it in the show's description, so people can go check that out. Please do. It is mandatory reading for me. Essentially every Monday morning. You're publishing that after a game, so always a good read. And thank you so much, Nate.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, we are back, sort of unorthodox here in part 2, Chief, because part 2 is going to feel a lot like how we normally do a part 1. I know.
No, you and Grayson conspired to do that first segment and force us all to calm down and talk rational in front of the company. And now the fire is diminished when we actually get to the part of the episode where I really want to just lay into things.
This is funny.
I say, Kevin, say the lineup, list out when the goals were made.
Okay.
Let Chief give his 5 minutes or whatever complaining, because all I want to do is talk about the refs. Because I put it on Twitter. The refs are like Arthur Anderson to Enron today. Like, we are Enron. Their errors papered over the fraud here a bit, and so I'm probably going to agree with a lot of whatever Chief has to say, but I don't want to say this is a refs let us off the hook situation, but I do want to talk about the refs because it's frankly dangerous.
Yeah.
Like this is a serious issue that needs to be talked about, and I do think it has overtaken the storyline of the game today.
It certainly will as we get further away from the game. I think the lasting memory will be what was and was not called in this game in particular. So we are again talking about the defeat in Atlanta. 4-2 is the full-time score. The lineup. I'll say before the game, I'll steal the reaction right away. Before the game, I think most people were excited. It was Roman Celentano in goal. It was Lucas Angle as your left wing back, Luca Orishano as your right wing back, Miles Robinson, Matt Miazga, Nick Hagglund as your center backs, Wobodo and Buka as your defensive midfielders, Evander just ahead of them, and Denke and Valenzuela as the strikers. Although depending on which format and formation site you were looking at, maybe Valenzuela was alongside Evander with Denke alone up top, which is mainly how the team played, but other places were reporting it differently. It's what we wanted to see going into this game. I'm in a couple of... It was pretty damn close.
It was close. I still think we talked about it with Nate a little bit. I still think this team needs to get that defensive midfielder off the field. I think it limits this team too much. I think that, maybe in this game with how pacey Atlanta is, maybe you feel like you need Wobodo to provide cover. But, Dotto is the story. And he's the story of this game, and if the one positive you'll take away from this game is that he continues to look the part, shockingly, I would say. I don't think anyone had him other than you, Kevin. You've been you've been hodl, you've been diamond hands on Dotto, but he continues to look the part of a striker in ascendancy, or an offensive threat in ascendancy. And you combine that with the vouching that Evander made for him. It's a good time to be holding with a long play on Dotto Valenzuela. But the goddamn sword formation, like it worked once against Miami, and since then it's just been the sword of misery is what it's been.
It's formational heroin, I think. It's that first hit was so good, and we'll spend the rest of our lives, whether it kills us or not, chasing that all over again. Yeah, I'd agree. Comes out that Kubo wasn't available in this one, which makes the Nwobodo pick even more obvious. I'll say, even though like FontMob didn't rate him very high, I thought Nwobodo actually had a pretty good game in this one overall with what he was being asked to do. Really, where the game fell apart is with the center backs and with just the offensive plan in general. The center backs, I mean, it's hard to judge Hagglund here, so it's really on Miazga and Robinson and Tadebe who had a rough outing. Man, this is such a weird team, Chief.
So we're going to talk a lot about the officiating, and we're going to talk a lot about, certain individual players. But I don't want it to get lost in the sauce that officiating aside, like we're going to talk a lot about it, but officiating aside, bad officiating is not responsible for conceding an XG of nearly 4 to Atlanta. It's not responsible for allowing 9 big chances created to Atlanta. Atlanta sucks. I'm sorry. No, hold on.
It's responsible for part of those because, to my eye, the second and third goals were offside.
We'll talk about that too. I don't understand what offside is anymore. Like in terms of being involved with the play, like standing and letting yourself be nutmegged on a goal. I don't know how you can, in
front of the goalie.
Yeah, I don't understand how you can be more involved in the play from an offside position than dummying the ball. Like
think back to the Yamil Assad offside last year against Atlanta. The one that kept Nico Gioacchini from earning himself a true DP contract in a permanent spot with FC Cincinnati. The goal that would have set off his scoring tear
all the way to MLS Cup,
where Yamil Assad was just like running the opposite direction. Nobody knew anything about him. On like the end of the penalty box, somehow that was offside.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when you look back at the second and third goals of this game.
Even still, 9 big chances created. Goal dangerous the entire game. Behind the defense multiple times. Atlanta sucks. I'm sorry. I'm not here for this. Oh, they're underperforming. Oh, there's real talent on this team. This team sucks. They hadn't won a game since March, and they went in and they stole FC Cincinnati's lunch money in this game and asked them, what are you going to do about it? And the answer was, no. And so I am sick of being told that my eyes are not seeing what they're showing me. I'm sick of being told, oh, well, the team is top of the table. Yeah, well, this team looks like ass a whole lot for a team that's top of the table. This team got its pants beaten off it by Philly, got its pants beaten off it by Charlotte, and it's got its pants beaten off it by Atlanta tonight. Like this team, what's the most impressive this team has looked all season? That game against Austin, another awful team. Like this team is short on resume wins and long on Jesus Christ. What did I just watch? And at some point, that has to matter in this discussion. And I don't want the horrendous officiating in this match to take away from the fact that nothing about what FC Cincinnati played like today makes them look anything like a contender for Shield. a contender for any trophy that is left on the table. This looked like a bad soccer team, this game.
Yeah, I agree. The takes where it's like, oh, this team is top of the table, they're in a playoff spot, whatever. Okay, fine. True. There are no trophies given for your table position in April and May. And, let's all just agree that the team that the team shouldn't change anything about how it plays the rest of the year. And let's see who ends up being right. Do the people who think who like to say like, oh, they're top of the table, do they think that if nothing changes the rest of the year, they're going to be happy with the season?
I mean, if nothing changes,
with how the team plays,
this team,
do they think if nothing changes with how the team plays, that they're going to stay at the top and they're going to be happy with whatever the team does because they used the same approach that took them to the top of the table in April?
It's just so hard to say.
Is that going to be a good excuse when they drift down to like 5th in the East?
But I don't know that you can say that it'll drift down because playing so poorly has got them to this point. Like,
okay, yeah, last year they started the season great too, and they sucked. Then they sucked. Well, they didn't really nothing really changed that much. But then they lost a lot of games and didn't win a lot of games.
Lost Miazga and Hagglund, but yes,
and they went down to 3rd, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess if you assume that they stay at the top of the table, everybody will be happy. But I'm saying, do people really think that if the team keeps playing how it's been playing, it will stay top of the table? And that's the question I think that everyone needs to answer. And based on Pat Noonan's answers earlier in the week to media questions and whatever Chief just saw on Twitter, but also the answer that I see here that Carter Chapley put from the press conference where he says, he says the defense let them down today, but he was pleased with the way the team responded and fought back. And I hear what Noonan has said in press conferences this week. And for me, this is like, it's like Obama in 2008 when he says, sorry, I just saw something and lost my train of thought. But I'll say this: it's like in 2008, right? When Obama's like, I oppose gay marriage, and everybody's just like, we just think he's lying. Our best hope is that Pat is lying when he says he's like, he thinks it just comes down to like decision making in the final third, and that the offense is doing great.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. This was another game for the FC where there are so many narratives coming out of it. And the tough part is that, you want to focus on just one aspect of this that's been bad for a while. And that's just, that the offense, you generate a lot of shots, but as we talked about with Nate, it's you generate a lot of shots, but a lot of low percentage chances. There's not a lot of motion off the ball. There's not a lot of creativity being shown. It's a lot of individual efforts.
Yeah.
They're not finding open players. Again, you had a team that, while better in passing than it has been recently, is still struggling to find the final unlocking ball that other teams seem to find so easily against them in big moments. And you had the things that have gotten this team through to this point not there in this game. You had a game where Evander takes a lot of shots from distance that are not even close to threatening the keeper.
Yeah.
You had Denke being, drawing a crowd wherever he went with that 3 center back format that Atlanta was playing in. And so without Denke having the ability to find open spaces or find the ball, and without Evander having the touch on his, miracle shots from distance, somebody else and other things had to step up on offense for this team. And that's where this team has struggled. This team has struggled to create when the individual efforts haven't been there.
Yeah.
At all. And so
yeah.
I don't, we're about to get into the part now where I've got thoughts. I don't want the bigger picture of this to be lost, though, and that is that we've said before, this team needs to start showing something in terms of where that 17 million, 12 million, 3 million, where all those millions of dollars they spent in the attack pays out. And this was yet another game, I think, where we've said it before, that occasionally in this league, you're going to need to win a shootout. And this was a game where this team needed to win a shootout. It was under siege on a lot of these Atlanta opportunities. They were faster. Atlanta was faster. They got behind the defense multiple times. They created multiple scoring opportunities. This is just one of those MLS games where you needed a third goal, kind of like we saw from Inter Miami against Philadelphia this week, where they needed a third goal. They got it in extra time to get your point in a weird MLS-y game. This is a game where FC Cincinnati needed a third and needed a fourth. And a team that I think this team aspires to be gets a third and gets a fourth. But as it is right now, I just don't think that the way Noonan plays, the way the personnel is, and the way this team approaches things from patterns of play, I don't think that there's a lot of 3-goal opportunities for this team, or you're going to see a lot of 3-goal results for this team, and you're just going to lose games like this. And that's why it's frustrating when you hear people and they say things like, oh, well, it's just, this is one of those MLS games where the other team is really talented and they score goals. It's like, yeah, we need to win some of these MLS games. And it's been a minute since we got into one of these shootouts. We came back in a miracle against Chicago last year, I think, made a 3-3 result where Lucho came on at the half and was just Superman, if I remember correctly, in that game. But you need occasionally to have some of these games where you put up 4 to cover for the fact that your defense leaks. And I just don't see it from this team right now. And until they can do that, I'm going to have a hard time betting this team to win trophies this year. They've got to show that they're capable of doing that, and they haven't so far. All right, that's done. Can we move on to the officiating now?
I think we can. I just want to go ahead and say real quick that the remainder of this section is presented by LASIK.com, folks.
All of it. Every bit of this.
You're never going to believe this, but we are letting Guido Gonzalez Jr. know that he can get free LASIK surgery from the fine folks at LASIK.com who want better vision to equal better calls by giving free LASIK surgery to all professional referees. So, Guido, take them up on it, okay? But for the rest of us, civilians is how I assume referees would refer to the rest of us as.
Non-teammates.
Not opponents, clearly. You can use the link in the description or go to LASIK.com/thepostcincy for $1,100 off a procedure with the fine folks over at LASIK. There are some amazing doctors here in Cincinnati that do good work. Check them out. The consultation is free, so give them a look. LASIK.com, huge to have them sponsoring this podcast and what we're doing here. So give them some love. If you're on the fence, give it a look. Or maybe you need LASIK to give it a look. I don't know how that exactly happens, but the consultations are free, so go check it out. So with that, the referee section. I want to start off by reading this bit here. Per Damon Gumbert, our reporter on the beat for FC Cincinnati, he reports that Nick Hagglund has suffered a fractured rib and damage to his lung after the hard foul from Latte Loth in the first half.
No, it wasn't a hard foul. And we're going to stop right there.
That's a good point.
That was not a hard foul. That was 1000% a cheap shot. It was a headhunting move by Latte Loth. It was deplorable, and it was painfully obvious watching the replay that he went out of his way to attack Nick Hagglund right there. That he went out of his way. He made no effort to play the ball.
The ball's not there.
The ball's not there.
Yeah.
He goes directly at Nick Hagglund and attempts to injure him.
Yep.
That wasn't an attempt to that's not a professional foul. That's not a hard foul. That is an attempt to injure a player. It's one of the dirtiest things I have ever seen watching this sport. It's one of the dirtiest things I've seen watching FC Cincinnati games in particular. And the fact that Latte Loth was not sent off for a straight red is fucking absurd. The fact that VAR didn't check this at all is absurd. The fact that the officials don't have to answer the media as to why that wasn't checked when a player is in the fucking hospital, that you don't have to answer to the media, to reporters, to people why that wasn't checked is absurd. And Latte Loth should be receiving not one, not two, but like weeks of suspension for deliberately injuring an opponent on the field. I don't care that he's a DP. I don't care that he's the highest record-setting transfer. That is unacceptable. And if that doesn't happen, if the Players Association isn't calling for this, if the league does nothing, it will show what we already know, and that it is a spineless organization that runs this league that does not care about player safety. Does not.
Yeah. So one thing I want to clarify is per Laurel Failer, there was a poll question on this, and they do say that VAR checked it for a potential red card to make sure that no clear and obvious error was made on the field. The VAR confirmed that no error was made. That is from the pool report response. Per Laurel Failer.
No.
I know that Carter.
No.
You gotta. This is more recent. Sorry.
Okay.
But sorry, folks. This is what happens when you record after the game. So Carter put out that they had put two questions and they'd only got one answer.
Yeah.
And that they had not gotten an answer on the Nick Hagglund foul. This is per Laurel Failer more recently. Frankly, 2 minutes ago as we're talking.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
All right, so I'm not even going to apologize for having this wrong.
Don't apologize.
I was about to correct you as well, actually.
No. This is live. This is live radio, folks. But apparently an answer did come in on the Nick Hagglund foul or non-foul or whatever we want to call it. I do agree with Chief that we shouldn't call it a foul. Because a foul is like when you're playing this is assault. Like he assaulted Nick Hagglund for no reason. And the injury speaks for itself. This is a non-off-ball contact that resulted in a big guy getting his rib broken and his lung damaged.
And he jumps into him too. It's not like an accidental contact or we came together hard. He jumps into Hagglund and blindsides him.
And look, Latte Loth should have been off that game for multiple reasons. This foul, he did two other fouls that I think were clearly card worthy. He had an elbow across Matt Miazga's face.
Yep.
And he did a very, very hard foul, excessive on Obi. As well,
which led to directly to an attack. By the way,
he ended up with no cards this game.
Nobody on Atlanta got a card.
FC Cincinnati got cards in two of their first four fouls. Okay,
all that being said, I put this on Twitter, but I do think it's true. Like, protecting player safety has to be like job number one for officials.
It's almost the reason why they are there.
For this foul to have happened and there to have been nothing called on the spot, nothing called by VAR, and no fucking apology in the poll reporter response.
Right.
None of these people should work again.
Right.
And I'm serious. We have a guy who went to the hospital for a broken rib and damage to his lung. They need to go sit in front of the fucking media and answer questions about what you were doing when this happened. Because it's one thing to be like, oh, we missed a couple of offsides calls because we were out of position and we don't have the VAR angles because we play in a football stadium and cameras are wherever cameras are. That's like the kind of amateur bullshit that you deal with in MLS. And we just all like, that's the kind of thing I can live with. But this is like, we put a guy's like life in danger.
Yeah.
Due to the sheer incompetence of people who just last season went on a work stoppage. I know it was a lockout, but like, you know, they refused to sign a contract because they said they were underpaid. And they said at the time that them not working games, that MLS having games with replacement refs was putting player safety in jeopardy. We have seen what happens when you put player safety in the hands of these people. They need to answer for themselves.
And apparently,
like, Nick Hagglund's career, for all we know, might be over.
Yeah. And apparently, I'm getting word, and I've heard, you know, word coming out of the game is that Guido was even telling Nick to get up and stop faking it.
Wow.
And that's why everyone was so hot on the FC Cincinnati sideline, as Hagglund, in clear pain, like from the first moment he gets hit, you can tell that there is something wrong. I thought immediately punctured lung based on how he was looking and what they were checking at.
He couldn't
and the first
breathe.
reaction of the ref is to get up and get off the field, stop time wasting.
This guy, he should never ref again.
No.
He shouldn't ref youth soccer again. For him to, if that's true, and there should be recording of that.
Yep.
I know that there's like rules on what they can do with the recording and like how they can use it. But if anybody wants to leak it,
leak the tape, please. I'm begging you.
You know, I know there's restrictions on how they can use these recordings, but my God, this is I know we complain about refs a lot.
Yeah,
but and we're right all those other times.
We're especially right
to
right
be
now.
clear.
Like this is insane. Like you are jeopardizing player safety by either your incompetence, your ego, your recklessness, or your flippantness.
Yeah. Flippancy is good.
I don't understand either why, you know, I don't understand how anyone can look at that video footage and say, no, Latte Lot deserves to be in this game still. And what galls me even more.
Someone should have to sit in front. Somebody, preferably Guido and the VAR.
Yeah.
Should have to sit in front of that footage
and say,
and
explain to me what he was doing.
See.
Yeah. Tell me what you think he was doing right here. Take me through your thought process. You are watching this because no longer are we in this idea of, oh, I only had a split second to make a decision. No, here's the VAR. I want you to tell me what you think Latte Loth is doing to Nick Hagglund right there. I want you to tell me what, in your own words, explain to me how he launches himself at Nick Hagglund off the ball, hits him up under like the armpit, with an arm directly to the exposed ribs, knocks him to the ground. I want you to tell me in your own words what exactly you think about that is not dangerous or violent conduct and is an actual play that is common to the nature of soccer. Tell me in your words.
I am so glad you brought this up because this is I will admit, as somebody who has firmly been on the abolish VAR train for a long time now, this moment is the exact moment where I do question my position, which is if there is a hard foul, a violent foul that happens away from the play and the center referee doesn't see it, do we just live with it? Or do you have the video assistant referees able to review that footage, zoom in, find the situation, and call and bring those players to account that are doing these dirty plays and dirty tricks that we all do not want in the game and put players' health and safety at risk? And I like I said, I admit this is a weak spot because you want that to be there. And for VAR to also get a look at this and decide that nothing was wrong. What kills me is VAR decided that no error was made. What? You're supposed to be able to identify these moments and call them out. So if Guido or whomever is just not looking, you can punch a guy in the head. And so long as nobody sees it, even if it's on high definition video cameras for the end of time, it doesn't count anymore. That's not how VAR works. What is the point of this?
Tell me how a 5'9" little bitty guy breaks a 6'2" Haas's ribs and punctures his lungs off the ball without some kind of excessive force. And I know that the refs in the moment don't know the extent of like the medical diagnosis of the injury.
Right.
But they do see what we see. And I will tell you what I see is a kind of contact that is capable of breaking the guy's ribs and doing damage to his lungs. And so like the fact that I see that and that's what happened tells me that you can, as a VAR, look at that video and, put on your big boy pants, make a fucking call. And I'm sorry for the cursing, but like, this is serious thing that happened, and it is not being treated by the officials. I know they view themselves in opposition to the first and second team,
right? Of course,
but I view them as people who are like try to maintain safety standards. Right. It is not being treated in a serious way by these officials with the way that these poll report questions are answered. And that blows my mind. And I really do think, I know that they're union employees and, I wish them well, working the next 6 years in the rubber room, but I don't want to see these people ever again.
No.
Ever again.
No. It's hard not to Hagglund gets injured, and it's hard not to draw a straight line from Hagglund being injured to the first goal that this team gives up.
Oh, absolutely.
Where it is a total disorganization sequence on the back line. Hagglund has been one of the best defenders this team has had all year. You're throwing Hadebe into the game with no warm-up, no prep. There's no chance he was thinking he was going into this game anytime soon. Athletes always say, oh, you got to keep your head in the game at all time. There is not a chance in hell teenage Hadebe has his head ready and, on and ready to go in the 15th minute of this game. Yeah.
And then they reshuffle the back line as to where everybody is, right. Which and then also
there's an immediate breakdown.
Yep.
And they score the first goal. And so, I don't want the officiating to take over what I thought was a poor game in virtually all facets by FC Cincinnati. But you're just not being honest if you don't say that in this moment right here, that it is the officiating that leads to Atlanta getting that first goal, getting the momentum in this game, and really changing the tenor of this game. Because until that injury, FC Cincinnati was on the front foot. They were playing better than Atlanta. They were holding the ball. They were moving the ball. To the point where you would suggest the first goal, even the first two goals, were against the run of play in the game for how well FCC was controlling the game prior to Hagglund's injury. It just deflated the team. Like watching Hagglund walk off the field again, and by the time he walks off, everybody knows he is seriously hurt.
Yeah.
I think they probably diagnosed a broken rib right on the field, just, doing all their touching and feeling right there. So everybody knows Hagglund's going to be gone for a while. That's great news when you're about to lose Miles Robinson for a month. Once again, here we find ourselves. And I don't want to give the refs the full blame, but they deserve a lion's share of the blame. Guido Gonzalez and his crew deserve a lion's share of the blame right now for the first goal that FC Cincinnati concedes.
They need to do their job. And look, we have complained about the way that Kevin Denke is officiated, and it really comes down to he is a big guy and Latte Loth is a little guy.
No, because we dealt with this with Luciano Acosta. He was a little guy, and he was also officiated like he was, a career criminal.
He would complain and stuff.
Right.
Okay?
He was mouthy.
So, but Latte Loth can get away with cheap shots. And because he's a little guy, they don't he should have gotten multiple yellow cards outside of this dirty. And if Kevin Denke had done any of these fouls, they would have arrested him.
I don't even disagree. He would have been led off the field in handcuffs for doing that to someone. And also, if Kevin Denke does that to someone, he might actually kill them.
Yeah. It would have been I don't have an analogy.
Yeah.
Something out of an anime or something.
And it goes back to an idea that we've brought up before as well, which is that the African players on FC Cincinnati seem to be officiated in a slightly different way than a lot of the rest of the league. And yet, Latte Loth, Ivorian, I don't know what the excuse is here. This is just insane.
Little guy.
Most expensive player, therefore protect at all cost, I guess.
And that wasn't even the only even the only horse shit call.
There was the Miles Robinson got a yellow for something,
which is fair. I think that's a fair yellow card, to be clear.
I think it's a yellow card you can give.
Right.
But Louis Abram did essentially an identical thing.
That's where I have the problem.
In a more dangerous position.
That's where I have the problem.
In a more dangerous attacking position for the FC, and did not get a yellow. And I forget, somebody did complain about that.
Yeah, you know who it was? It was Taylor Twellman. Do you know how bad you have to be at your job?
I didn't have any audio because I was at a dinner party.
Yeah, you know how bad you have to be at your job for me to start agreeing with Taylor Twellman on a broadcast?
Grayson.
And I'm nodding along, you tell him, Tay-Tay. That's right. This is nonsense. These cards are bad.
Grayson, you would have loved first half Taylor Twellman before somebody at the league told him to cut it out, because he also laid into them at the end of the first half for the Brad Guzan coming out and clobbering Dado Valenzuela in the box.
Let's talk about that now.
The only rationale I could think about for that is saying the ball's already gone. But how many times
doesn't that make it worse?
How many times have we gotten a penalty called against us where the ball was essentially already gone?
Yeah,
it was a clear foul. He punched him.
He punched him in the stomach.
Yes.
He somehow managed to hit him high and low in a completely reckless challenge where Dado had the space first. Dado would beat the goalkeeper to the spot, and he just assaulted him in midair. And I'm sorry, I don't give a shit that Brad Guzan is he played for the national team. I don't care. He looks like the before on an alopecia commercial. I'm sick of this guy. And he just nothing in that moment. Nothing. It's just apparently you can launch yourself like a missile as long as you're wearing the goalkeeper's uniform. And we're just going to say anything goes. It doesn't matter.
I thought it was
for
wild.
VAR not to give that. That's real frustrating. So that's frustrating in a different sense than the Nick Hagglund thing.
Yeah, of course.
Because the Nick Hagglund thing is, I think,
so egregious.
Is egregious. And I think it should be career ending for people, especially given the ref's in the moment reaction.
Yeah.
Again, where he's saying "Oh, stop faking" or whatever. He needs to go to the hospital and give Nick Hagglund an apology as part of a 10-step process.
No, he needs to give Nick Hagglund a free shot like that. Like
Yeah.
here, Nick Hagglund gets one
He should
back.
have to stand there while Nick Hagglund just levels him in the chest. But this is another one where it's like, this is the kind of thing you guys do.
Yeah.
Like, I understand from the VAR standpoint where you're like, well, it's not like head contact. He didn't cleat him, whatever. In this is textbook.
Right.
This is regular VAR stuff. The goalie punched him.
That's what.
And not
nothing.
playing a play on the ball. That's a penalty.
Nothing.
Like if that is the ongoing threat, then the attackers will never go for a ball. You know, it's telling when after a play like that, Roman Celentano was down in the Atlanta box talking to Brad Guzan. I can't remember the last time I've seen that in a game.
Yeah, Miazga had to do a holdback thing on him. Like Miazga had to push him back down the field. Like Roman was hot. And I think the reason why is that Roman is like, you want me to start doing that to your guys too?
Right.
Because I don't have a problem. If all crime is legal for the guy wearing the keeper's kit, then y'all are about to get on the worst end of that with how small some of your players are.
And you know in your heart of hearts, if Roman had done that later in the game, it would have been a penalty.
PK. No doubt.
Without a doubt.
No doubt. And that's the frustrating aspect of all this is that, like, there's no doubt in my mind that if somebody from FC Cincinnati would have done that to Latte Loth and knocked him out of the game,
yep,
red card, straight red card. If Roman does that on an aerial ball, PK all day. I just know, and you know in your soul that this team is officiated differently, and that's not fan sour gripes. It just the body of evidence is staggering at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget. Was it 2020? I'd say I'd never forget, and then I immediately ask what year.
Pat Noonan, New York City FC.
Yep.
Like the referee telling Pat Noonan, "Sorry, your team needs to do a better job overcoming the poor situation we put you in."
Yep.
He said he's like, you guys blew it.
Yeah, you blew it.
And again, like, it's crazy.
So let me offer a slightly different question or perspective
what about
here.
The second and third goals? I mean, they're offside, right? There's clear players involved in the play.
So you got to explain.
In offside positions.
Somebody explain it to Chief right here. I was always under the impression that when it comes to players being offside, scoring a goal, you don't need to touch the ball. But if you are involved in the play from an offside position, that still makes the entire goal offside. And yet here I saw a player dummy a goal from an offside position, and apparently that's okay.
Drag defenders, block the goalkeeper's vision.
I don't even know what offside is when it comes to off the ball, out of the play, offside. And like Grayson said, we saw that called on us, I think, multiple times last year.
Yeah.
Player who didn't touch the ball but was still involved in the play was in an offside position. And they were not even close to where the shot was taken from or where the goalkeeper was. And yet here we had a dude quite literally right in front of net just open his legs wide to allow the ball to pass and be a distraction. And that's fine. Now, I don't understand the rule. I don't understand the rule now. And I'm going to need, again, one of these officials to come down from the booth and explain to me in their own words how they did not view him as being offside, and then play them the tape of that goal that got called back from Joe Aquini last year and say, okay, using the same logic, tell me how this was ruled offside. I don't understand it. I'm not bright enough. I don't have access to the wisdom necessary to understand this because I just simply do not understand what this rule is anymore.
I don't get it either. I will say in general, I don't know if it's a more conservative or a more liberal application of the rule. I don't mind not calling it ever. Like, that's fine. I think that I don't think that should happen. Like, if the player is touching the ball, it should be the chief primary concern, and it should be something a little extraordinary to overcome that. That's fine. But it's when you look at it in comparison to other plays that have been called against FC Cincinnati where it really starts to break down. It's like, in my mind, neither one of these are offside, but given what we've seen before, they have to be offside. So now I don't know where we stand. I will also say, offside or not, horrific defending. This whole team is designed around preventing moments like this, and we gave up 2 of them.
Well, the
of course none of this should happen, but
right.
I am not. I'm beyond not concerned. Like, we know the team can defend over the course of a full game.
Yes.
I think that as far as like tactics go, we think that we should have enough possession and enough offense that the team is just not like pinned back and defending the whole time.
Yes.
The coaches seem fine with that. To be clear,
I don't.
Yes.
And Matt Miazga, talked about after the Columbus game that that's something that they're perfectly fine doing. And so, like, yes, if that's true, stuff like what happened tonight can't happen ever.
Right.
But it's a horror show of officiating.
Yeah. Also, we praise him a lot, so I feel like we have to counterbalance things a little bit. The 3rd goal in this game is a direct result of one of the worst plays I've ever seen Pavel Buka make.
Yeah.
Where he attempts I'll generously call it a back pass to Roman that is hit with way too much pace and sails out 40 yards on the fly for a corner kick that leads directly to the 3rd Atlanta goal. Just a total unforced error by a guy that just doesn't make those mistakes very often. And that was the goal. Like, you thought at 2-1 that this team had a chance to get something out of this game.
Oh yeah.
When it goes to 3-1, you're like, yeah, we're done here. Like, nothing about this team gives you the confidence they're going to get 3 goals in a match just to get a point.
Oh man. So the point I wanted to bring up before, and I'll bring it up now, given that PRO and the PSRA have positioned themselves as the 3rd team, do we think the Nick Hagglund injury is good for them because they took out one of the players on the other teams?
I mean, it's obvious what our next match with Heineken for rivalry week should be, I think, at the very least.
I'm just saying, if they're an opponent, and we've seen from the beginning days of sport that dirty plays are very much a part of the game, and taking out an opposing team's player is, unethical, but certainly in many teams' repertoire. I got to hand it to them. Well done. They sent one of our guys to the hospital. We'll get you next time. Like, that's how it'll have to go.
I think Latte Loth should get to play the next time.
I actually like a reciprocal, if you injure a guy in a dirty play, to be clear.
I mean, in a play like this.
Yeah.
Where it's clearly intentional.
Right. It's not a,
you're blindsiding
tackle.
You're blindsiding somebody for no reason other than to injure them.
There's no ball.
He shouldn't get to play until Nick plays again.
So we heard reporting prior to the match that Atlanta United's coach called out the team, saying they were too soft. Do we think that the issue is really that the head coach of Atlanta is really taking his cues from Coach Riley from the Mighty Ducks and instructing his players to go out there and injure the opponent? Because that very much felt like a take Adam Banks out of this game moment.
I was going to say Bountygate from the Saints days. Yeah, it's in that ballpark, man. Oh, devastating night. Absolutely sucks. LASIK.com/thepostcincy, by the way.
Just awful. Just can the laser just fry his brain or something like that instead? Just kill him. Like, I hate Guido Gonzalez so much, man. I'm just done. I'm sick of his shit, man. I'm sick of his shit. I'm sick of every time. There's always something with this dude. It's just, it used to be that like you could say that the officiating was bad and it was just sort of the way MLS was, but the officiating that you don't know when the next time you're going to see Nick Hagglund is. And that sucks for a dude who worked his ass off.
An all-time good guy.
Yeah. Worked his ass off to get back to full fitness and had come back as a guy who was getting starts on this team on merit, that he was the clear third choice center back. He had held off Teenage Hadebe, Gilberto Flores, and that is a wild character arc for a guy that we were told when we signed him was a liability and a depth piece at best. And here we find ourselves now, some 6-7 years on with him and the team coming back from a horrific leg injury, and now to have to deal with this for a guy that was openly headhunting him.
Yeah.
To what?
And for this ref to go and say, quit faking, quit wasting time, get up. Given what we know, and given that if that's true, if that's what he did, there are people, including the ref, obviously, who know that happened, who know irrefutably that happened. And man, you can't say you take player safety seriously and let this guy work another game.
Yeah. Unless
there is some serious public rehabilitation for that. And I'm not sure that would be acceptable to me, but like, my God. Like,
be a start.
It'd be a start. Like, I know people fake injuries.
Yes.
But with a player like Nick in a situation like that, and knowing what we know, this guy can't be trusted. Like, not just in the moment, right? Beyond how irresponsible he was in the moment.
Yeah.
How can you possibly trust the competence of this guy going forward to know when players are faking and when they're not?
Feels like a key skill to have in that position.
Man, he's got to be gone.
Yeah.
And if he's not, the league doesn't take player safety seriously. It is that cut and dry.
Yeah.
I think
it's two things.
And if it's not, I want to hear someone tell me why it's not that cut and dry.
It's very
I'll listen.
It's very simple to me. It's that Guido Gonzalez, his inability to properly officiate this match changed the outcome of it and contributed to a player getting hurt seriously. And if he isn't disciplined by the league, or there isn't something done about that, it's a sign to me very clearly that the league doesn't care about player safety. And the other one is Emmanuel Latte-Lath. He deliberately attempted to injure an opposing player. I'm sorry, the videotape doesn't lie. Like, this isn't a thing where it's a judgment call or we have to rely on, people's words because there wasn't a camera angle that showed it. No, there are clear camera angles. There's probably more of them. There will probably be more.
College football could do targeting. This is a football stadium.
I'm sure there are more camera angles than we saw in the broadcast. The one we saw in the broadcast, he absolutely 100% headhunted Nick Hagglund, and the league can either do something about that and say that there's going to be consequences for that with this player's availability and the ability for him to play matches going forward, or it can do nothing. And then, whenever you talk about player safety, you can miss me with every one of those things you're talking about because your actions aren't backing up your words. Hey, Miles Robinson scored a goal off a corner kick. That was kind of cool. It's been a while since we had one of those.
Against his old club. Always exciting.
Felt like a minute since we'd had a, tall guy gets the ball in a corner and heads it in. It feels like a minute since we've had one of those goals.
Man.
But like,
Guido made me look this up. Everybody's favorite Wall Fall. Still playing soccer. 32 years old. He was last playing in the United States in 2021 for the Oakland Roots. Took a couple of years off and is now at Arminia Ludwigshafen, a a team down in like the amateur ranks. If you guys remember,
Maybe that's a
Wallfall.
league that Guido's competent to officiate in.
I want people to know
Yes.
that I went to yoga today. I was extremely centered before this game.
Oh God!
Imagine what
all
happened if
the-
you would have watched
all
on a
the-
real TV.
All the heat has been generated since 7 p.m. today.
Incredible. All right. Are we ready to put this game behind us in the rearview mirror and look ahead to what should be a very interesting matchup on Wednesday?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go talk about it.
Let's get past this quickly. All right, we are back. Part 3.
You know, it's kind of cool too.
What
We
is
did that entire second part, and you didn't like once talk about how cool Dotto's goal was.
It was.
It was good. I don't have time for that. We're moving on.
There's more important things. Can't talk about everything. Leave that one for
Kevin,
CST.
man, just Kevin is that's his boy, and Kevin's
Well,
subdued victory lap here.
it's once it's at this point, it's like well known. It's established. It's the baseline. Dotto scored. Of course he did. We can
Right.
move on.
That's all he does.
Yes. FC Cincinnati hosts FC Dallas 7:30 p.m. May 28th. That is the same FC Dallas, folks, where one Lucio Acosta plays. This is
All right, hold on. This is
yeah.
like the most must-win game that they've played since Detroit City, right? Like, you can't lose to Lucio here. You can't, like, if you lose
this
this
is a
game,
must-win game.
yeah, if you lose this game, I'm not saying that he wins the debate, but I'm kind of saying he wins the debate. This is Brady Belichick. Like, Brady went into New England with the Buccaneers and beat Bill, and like, okay, plus winning a Super Bowl, he won. Like, that's it.
Plus winning a Super Bowl.
Right. But
Okay.
like,
Plus everything Bill Belichick has done over the last couple of years.
But here's the problem, right? is a lot of people have been, I guess, dancing on Lucio's grave, given
Yes.
our
Not me.
position. No,
Not
I
me.
agree. Not me either.
No.
I have
Given our
been.
position in the standings versus Dallas's position in the standings.
Yes.
But again, as I said, there are no trophies given for your position in the standings in May, right? So it is possible that we fall and Dallas rises. So does winning this game make somebody right and somebody wrong?
Yes.
No,
No, it does. Like, this will settle everything.
but it'll go a long way.
This is it. I'm sorry. It's fold up shop if you lose this game. This isn't a panic button game. This is a everyone must re-interview for their job game if you lose this game. I'm sorry.
I think this
I
is
don't make these rules. I don't make the rules.
I don't agree, but I do think this is a everybody should re-interview for their job week. So we had a game Sunday, we have a game Wednesday, we have a game Saturday.
yes.
Okay? 2 of those games are at home.
Yes. Against some bad teams.
If it's not a 6-point week against some teams that we think of as below us.
They are bad teams.
So was Atlanta. That didn't seem to matter.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chief.
Yeah.
It's a questions asked and maybe answered week. I'm not saying like Wednesday is a must win, but it's a my God, you better win.
So I will say on the season, Lucio Acosta has not quite been the Lucio Acosta that we knew him to be.
He's been even tempered and
Oh no, sorry. To be
a
clear,
great teammate.
everything about what you didn't like about
Faithful.
his play is still the case. He is still a giant pain in the ass. Dallas fans are asking, is he always like this? Maybe he should be benched for his attitude, screaming and yelling at teammates for passes that are not inch perfect. However, he has 0 assists and 3 goals on the season. It is not exactly the, stunning season that he was used to having the last couple of years with Cincinnati. Part of that is the rest of Dallas is not very good. They do have Peter Musa, who is also struggling, but is their 27-year-old DP striker up top. He is from Czechoslovakia? Croatia, excuse me.
Peter Musa? I thought it was Czech.
Croatian, I think.
Croatia
No.
per FOTMob.
And then Shaq Moore is still on this team, right? I think.
Shaq Moore is on this team, yes. They've not been a very good team. They've lost some.
He played for Slavia.
There it is. Okay.
Okay.
Just a fancy way of saying you were wrong.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong, but that's why I was wrong.
You were essentially right, though, which is the important
I
part.
was essentially right. Yeah.
Yes.
In that he spent time in Czech.
Yeah. Which I mean is better than just being completely wrong. So there
He's
you go.
been to Czech.
We call that a fact check in the biz right there.
No, we don't. Lucha was suspended, yellow card suspension for their last match out. So he will be available against
Rip
FC
Rowan
Cincinanti.
ready to go.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think most people will be hostile towards Lucho coming into TQL. And I think you should be hostile to Lucho as he comes into TQL, given the way he left this team and everything and how it went down. I think that is completely fair and valid, and I am open to it. I'm also open to the argument that we should build a statue for Lucho. So, everything's a little weird. So I guess my question is, how do we expect Lucho to play? Do we think this is Lucho scores a couple of goals? Is this Lucho shows us why we were happy to move on? Somewhere in the middle?
I think this is Lucho with an axe to grind against. Because remember, Lucho's position when he left this team was that Chris Albright won't return my phone calls. He won't return my text messages.
Yeah.
This team is not doing what is necessary to building a winning team around, they're letting good players go. I think he had a very specific opinion as to which players should not have been let go and which
right.
were. So he is, I think if you ask Lucho is obviously the hero of his own story, but I feel like he comes into this match thinking they kicked me out. I did not want to go. They forced me to do what I did because they were not committed to doing the things that I thought they needed to do to take the next step. So I think from his standpoint, he will be motivated to try and put a show on and show everybody, what the ex-girlfriend is, she's still looking good. So having said that, I think that Lucho will probably score like 3 goals in this game.
I actually think kind of the same, but the opposite.
Ooh,
So,
he'll be trying too hard.
I think he's be trying too hard.
Yeah, a Luca Orishano-esque performance.
Yeah, I think we're going to see like 2021 FCC Lucho, where he's going to be clearly the best player on the field, but he's going to be playing like he has absolutely no way of doing anything except through himself. Which I don't want to say like I thought he was bad in 21.
Right.
Careful. The team was just ass around him, though, is what the problem was.
Because the team was terrible around him, and they were having him get the ball too deep and whatever. It was just they were too reliant on him, and they didn't do enough for him. So yeah, when he lost the ball, it was often like pretty deep into our half. was dangerous. But like the issue was like, what else can we do?
Right.
And so I think we're going to see a lot of that on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to address how we should relate to him.
Ooh, please.
As fans. I'm not going to boo him.
Okay.
I'm not going to like boo him when he touches the ball. I'm not going to boo him when he gets announced.
Okay.
I'm not going to cheer for him when he gets announced either.
Okay.
I think that people can make their own decision on this.
Will you
And
golf
I think
clap?
they will.
Will you golf clap his first goal?
No, I'll boo that.
Okay.
Honestly, I probably won't because I don't really like boo.
Just
But
not a
I'll-
booer in general.
I'll stew.
Ooh.
Do you want to hear the lineup for the last game of 2021 that Lucho featured in?
Yes.
All right. It was a 6-3 defeat at the hands of Nashville SC. In goal, Kenneth Vermeer.
Oh,
Across the back of the 4-4-2 formation, Zico Bailey, Jeff Cameron, Tyler Blackett, and Edgar Castillo. In the midfield, Yuya Kubo, Caleb Stanko, Harris Medunjanin, Lucio Acosta, with Brandon Vasquez and Brenner up top. So a little bit of a mix of, oh my God, that's awful, and there's some pretty good players on that team.
you said that game ended 6-3.
Sure did.
That sounds
Noonan
exactly
gets a
right.
result. Noonan gets a result there.
With Kenneth Vermeer in goal, try again.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he puts Brandon in goal.
Kenneth Vermeer. Man,
It was not good.
that guy never saw a shot he wanted to save.
He's like, I got these hands for blocking. They ain't for catching, baby. He's got a defensive backs mentality.
Kenneth Vermeer is still playing for Pek Zwolle. Incredible.
It's going to be weird to see Lucho in another jersey at
Yeah.
TQL Stadium.
Yeah, it is.
If we,
I'm not gonna.
if we, here's
I'm
the
not gonna
question.
boo.
I already said that.
I'm
I know,
going
I'm
to
just-
boo,
I'm
to
not
be
gonna
clear.
boo.
But here's the question: If
I'll probably boo.
if we win the game, does he walk around?
I think maybe he never got like a send off because like he had his little snit.
I was going to
After the
say,
season was
and
over.
whose fault was that, Chief?
It's his fault.
It's
Should he pull the sword?
It's all
Like,
his
is
fault.
that-
Well,
I said we
again-
should offer
again-
it to him just to get in his
again-
head.
Yeah.
again, the sword pullers should be Akoli and Ledesma.
Yes.
The true club legends.
Are MVPs.
Yeah. The club's MVPs.
But I don't know. Do you think they do? You think they do anything for him?
Yeah, I think they probably have like some sort of a highlight package
I
that
I bet they do
plays
too.
like before the game. That's
And
what
I
I would
won't be there because I always show up
Right.
last minute.
You have to do it as far away from kickoff as possible.
No, to be fair, I don't think you have to do it. I mean, I think he forced his way out of this team.
If
I-
you're
Saying
going
you
to do
you
it.
have to do it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I don't want it near kickoff. I don't want him getting a special call out when they're listing the lineup of Dallas or whatever.
No, you don't want that. Here's my second question now. I'm of the mind, based on everything we know about how FC Cincinnati trains,
Yes.
how FC Cincinnati prepares, I'm of the mind that this should be an Evan Loros start because apparently
Yes.
he is the Lucho killer when it comes to taking PKs. And there is no doubt in my mind that if Lucho scores a goal in this game, it will be because he got some sort of a phantom PK. And that was the way he found his way to the line. I think you immediately get in his head if you put Evan in goal for this game.
100%. You
I
have
think
to do
it'd be awesome.
Oh God, who
It's
has
like
a better game, Evander or Lucho? Like stats wise.
Lucho.
Oh, damn it, guys! It's the
So
wrong
Evander,
answer.
We didn't talk about it in the game recap a lot. Evander really was kind of invisible in this game again, and it's early.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag Jellin. Evander disappears in too many games for being a $12 million acquisition and a designated player. And they need to do something about that. I don't know what that is, but like they need to find some way to make Evander more active in what this team does.
I think the solution to every single problem is one more attacking piece.
Yeah.
Like a buddy for him to play with. Like that's
That's why Lucho left, because we wouldn't get him a buddy to play with.
We need to get
we got rid of one of his
buddy.
buddies when we shipped Junior Moreno off. Then we got rid of another buddy when we shipped Santi Arias off.
Yeah, Yamil Assad.
Yeah.
To an extent, Barrial and Orishano.
We kept shipping his buddies off, and he was like, "I'm lonely and I hate it here. I need companionship."
We need to get Evander a buddy. All right, let's predict this game. Grayson, how does this one end?
2-1 to the FC.
Is that a good result or a bad result?
It's a result.
Okay.
2-2 draw, and I think it'll be a 2-2 draw on Lucho doing something that really frustrates the hell out of us in the second half late.
Who loses their job
Oh,
after that result?
No, in the worst fashion ever. It's a draw. You can't get mad at a draw. I know. If they lose to Lucho, like somebody's got to get fired. I don't care if it's the ball boy. I don't care if it's like, the head chef. Like somebody's got to get fired.
Dominic Kinnear.
Well, that's who we're putting it all on. He is supposed to be the striker whisperer, and the offense does not look good.
Alec King.
I think that still might happen regardless.
Can we fire Kenneth Vermeer again?
God, wasn't he on the team like as of last year?
They signed Kai Kamara.
Just cut Kai Kamara again.
I mean, there's a handful of guys you can see getting bought out. I will say, I was going to say 2-1, but it's not fun to pick the same score.
The other thing too is that there's going to be some rotation in this game. So I would expect that you'll probably see, it wouldn't shock me to see either Yedlin starting in place of Luka, or you're going to have to see some rotation on the back line now because Hagglund's going to be unavailable for sounds like a significant amount of time. It's been a while since I've seen a broken rib happen in soccer, because that's not usually an injury you associate with the sport. So I have no idea what the recovery timeline is for that, and depending on how injured his lung is. So you're going to see some rotation there. I'll bet we see Sergio Santos start up top in place of Dado, which will be tremendously disappointing.
No. Well, if that's the case, we lose. If Dado doesn't start, we lose. That's my prediction. Yeah. I'll say 2-2 draw. But we look really good doing it.
Who's your center backs? Because I have a thought on this. I think Gilberto Flores needs to be the start over.
I think Gilberto needs to start.
So Flores, Robinson, and Miazga?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I buy it. And then who's your... Yeah, so it's probably Angle. So, okay. I was going to say, does Brad Smith get a start in this one?
Just play extremely defensively and press Dallas deep, and then hope Lucho gets the ball, like starting in their defending third.
Yeah. And then that'll be that. Yeah. You'll be so frustrated by the end of the game. It won't work.
I also don't hate the idea since Hagglund's going to be out for an extended amount of time and we're losing Miazga for a while. I also don't hate the idea of DeAndre Yedlin playing as one of the three center backs and keeping him on the field along with Luka.
Also, there's a non-zero chance to have a couple drinks before the game, and then Lucho is like, clap.
like clap for him or like clap back?
Clap for him.
Don't
No, I'm
you
not
do
gonna do that.
No,
Don't you
that's
dare.
There's
the
a
wrong
non-zero
way.
chance that happens.
No.
Sometimes they get excited.
Well, if you do that, I'm gonna have to boo extra hard then, just to offset
You
that
gotta
to
make
let
up
him
for
know
it.
that he made a bad choice leaving us.
Oh,
All right, okay,
God.
here's
You can come back on a TAM deal, please.
Would this team be in a different position if Lucho was on the team instead of Evander right now? Take the exact same team minus Evander plus Lucho. Are we in the same position in the table?
His team is worse.
I think the team's better
way.
too.
No way. You guys, go back and watch the last couple of games that Lucho's played. He is not the same guy. We moved on.
He doesn't have Kevin Denke in front of him in Dallas,
he
though.
had
Remember
all of
when-
the good players last year, and he still sucked ass.
Remember when Kevin Denke came to a game and he's like, "Oh man, they create so many chances. I would be so good there." Yeah.
You think
Well.
he's got any buyer's remorse now?
Sure. And that was also, game state and all that with NYCFC and all that jazz. I'm telling you, Lucho is not the same Lucho. He's not very good. We moved on at the exact right time.
I don't love this take ahead of the game. I feel like this is just the kind of thing
That's
that like
a bad take.
That's fine. That's fine.
I think if he was here, he'd be the same Lucho.
The same Lucho that cost us the season last year. That Lucho?
Did he cost us the season, or did they
not signing a striker at the
not
summer
signing
window.
a striker?
If Lucho was that man, it wouldn't matter.
No, it would.
No, he.
You don't think that like the things
You
are
don't think you think Rossi should have been enough. You shouldn't have to have Rossi and Cucho.
I think if that is the argument, Columbus this year is almost making that point for you.
I'm gonna go a step further here.
No,
like,
they're not making the point. Columbus this year is making the point that you need Rossi and Cucho.
and Cucho. Yeah, they win.
Well,
the
wait,
game against us
okay,
with
hang
Cucho.
on. Now I'm confused as to what we want out of this team, because before it was we want beautiful attacking soccer like Columbus plays, and now we're
Yes.
saying Columbus is garbage.
Yes,
Play
they don't have a
beautiful
striker.
attacking soccer with a fucking $16 million attack striker.
Yeah, I want to see Kevin Denke exists also. And by the way, if we would have had the same officiating on that Nico
Kevin, if your position is that none of it matters, maybe we should just have saved ownership $16 million.
I want to sort of point out, if Nico Gioacchini gets the benefit of the same officiating style on what an offside goal is,
Yeah, true.
he scores that goal, and that unlocks all of his potential, and we go on a run last year. Sliding doors.
I'm just saying, Lucho was not the same player last year. Maybe that's because he was not surrounded with elite talent, but he was definitely, it was off a step the latter half of the year. And he has not picking up a step with Dallas, so I'm not happy to say goodbye.
Well, hey, look at it this way. We turned around Atlanta's season fortunes by laying a giant egg, and here we go. We have the same opportunity to get Lucio Acosta's season started by laying an egg.
It was Atlanta's third win of the season.
They're so bad, and I'm sick of people gaslighting me into thinking that they're not bad.
They're talented, but they are bad, and I do think there's a difference. All right, Chief, get us out of here.
Yeah, fuck Columbus and Guido Gonzalez. Fuck that guy too.